Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary listeners, heroes and heroines, crooks and crookieens, Coldplay and Dice Band. The audio performance you are about to enjoy discusses casinos and gambling. We do not recommend gambling with money you cannot afford to lose or that is needed to pay bills. If you have a gambling problem, contact your problem gambling hotline. If you do not know how to contact your problem gambling hotline, send an email to help@casinokombat.com. We will find that number for you and provide it to you. Our hosts' past performances are not indicative of anyone's future performance, including his own. All materials presented here are based on actual facts. Names and dates are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Some events unrelated to outcomes may be omitted in the interest of brevity and clarity. The contents of this episode are the property of Volcanic Dingo LLC. All rights reserved.
It's me, it's TRG, the Ramblin Gambler, just trying to make a living and doing the best I can.
Lyrics, dude. Recite him some lyrics.
Okay, I'll be honest, I got a little busy. What did you guys give me? What am I working from here? I should have paid attention. We had the grandkids for 3 days, which was a lot of. What did I get? I got Coldplay and Dice Band. Coldplay and Dice Band is what Fred said to start things out in the disclaimer. Let's do this. I used to roll the dice, see the fear in my enemy's eyes. Should I stay or go? Change lanes or take the easy road? But I don't know, so I'm going to let you take control. Let's wait for the dice to roll. There we go. Coldplay and Dice Band. Welcome to episode 168 of our Casino Kombat podcast. And that is true. I let you take control way back, years and years and years ago, almost half a decade ago now, like episode 20. If you listen to the early episodes, I always said, welcome to episode whatever of my Casino Kombat podcast. And I realized that was wrong. I realized we had people actually listening and participating. And I started saying something that's become one of the mantras of this show, which is welcome to episode, in this case, 168 of our Casino Kombat podcast. I made it about us, not about me. I made it about us being a squad, a team, working together, and we do, and we are, and we have accomplished amazing things after I let you take control, and we waited for the dice to roll, and the dice did roll, and we have done amazing things. If this is your first time, if you saw some tile on your device, if you searched for gambling podcasts and found this, you are the most important person in the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad you're here. We hope you'll stick around. Give us a full listen. See if this is for you. See if you'd like to be part of our squad. We would love to have you join us. This podcast is about winning this game of casino gambling, and in the larger role, all of us that are members of the squad working together to make each other better at winning this game. I am the voice heard most often, but I am not the only voice heard, and there are lots of contributors in the background, lots of conversations going on. We have an exclusive hidden in plain sight Slack group that you are welcome to join us in, and you do that by playing the game. which is you got to listen to the early episodes. You got to figure out the real world name of my home casino, Casino 2. And that's going to take some work, but it's easily doable. People from as far away from North America as Australia have figured out the name of that home casino in the early episodes. You just have to listen and figure it out. Once you've done that, the easy part, you've done the hard part. You email that to me. I tell you that you are a member of the Excelsior Brigade. Then you find in the real world, using their Casino Kombat call signs, you find Equine Ensign, you find Nakatomi Tony, you find Same Bet, the YouTube star of the channel by the same name, and you say, I would like an invitation to the Slack Virtual VIP Lounge, and you have just opened up a world of expert gamblers happy to help you with your gambling, happy to share their results, their tweaks to my techniques, all the things we have going on as a squad. So if you're new, I really encourage you to do that. There are very few exclusive free clubs on the internet trying to help you be better at gambling, but we are. As I said, hidden in plain sight. You just have to find us. To be one, ask one. We would love to have you do that. At the same time, if this is your next time coming back, thank you so very much for the gift of your time. Thank you for listening and caring enough about what I said and what I say to come back and join me one more time. I will give you the battle plan in a minute. Every episode, I like to do something I call the battle plan, and I will do that, but I want to talk about what's going on in the Casino Kombat Galaxy as it spins through the TRG first. We have been busy in the best of ways. Equine Ensign is just finishing up a very, very successful Bermuda cruise on Liberty of the Seas, fully comped. He's very confident he earned his next comped cruise with his play on this cruise. Plenty of winning going on, plenty of success in that regard. Nakatomi Tony just had a successful visit to Atlantic City. It's the new year for Ocean. They just rolled their Players Club rewards. He wants to get started right away on re-earning that Tier 2 status for next year. Got a great craps session in. Big wins. Somebody that he was at the table with rolled hard 10 5 times, and he was on that. Made good money. Went next door to earn some points at resorts. Lost a little money there. Walked the walkway to Planet Hollywood. Was talking to a young couple. She was getting ready to throw the dice for the first time. He decided to bet on first time Lady Luck at a craps table. Won back everything that he had lost at resorts and a little more. Goes back to resorts to get his car, and he's still got time on his time roll. And he decides that he's just going to go ahead, since he can go back to Ocean and Park for free, he's going to go back and he is going to do some more gambling, play a little more, have some fun. He's out of the garage. He's in the lane to make the right turn. And in his words, he hears my voice saying, one of my casino wisdoms, one of the things I've taught, which is you need to want the win more than you want the action. And he realizes that that's what's going on with him in that moment. That he wants the action of gambling more than he wants the money that's in his pocket. And he goes home. And good for him. Obviously, we don't know what would have or could have happened, but that's the idea of those casino wisdoms. In those moments, having them come back to you and be a reflection and a quick reminder of what am I trying to do? In his case, he had won a lot of days' pay. He has multiple casino trips coming up that are important to him. He only gets to play occasionally. He has a bingo outing coming up with some friends who all got comped bingo tickets. He will undoubtedly have some play then. And he has a big post-birthday trip to Harrah's in a comped room booked. And that is a tier multiplier day. And so he has plans to get all the way to Diamond. And now he's fully funded for that with money won and added to his bankroll. An excellent use of a casino wisdom. And Maven AP has been back in the game after some time off after some downtime, and has had multiple winning days at a Caesars property near him, really putting together a nice string of wins. So the squad has been busy, and the squad has also been researching. Excelsior Brigade Lucky Drunk has a really, really interesting on replacing the meta martingale with an idea of his combined with an idea of mine. And he has been testing that, and I'm sure we are going to bring that to you at some point in the future. And that is what one of the things, I started this podcast and I had all these big ideas of things that might happen if things went incredibly well. And if you don't know or if you don't recall, so let me remind you that those of you that might not recall, and let me tell those of you who might not know, when I started this podcast, I didn't know anyone else who knew how to win. I knew people who would listen to me tell them what I knew, and they would go, well, you have a really interesting take on gambling. That's really different. But I didn't know anybody else that knew how to have success on a recurring and repeating basis. And that doesn't mean every time. No one wins every time. It's about winning the relationship with gambling. It's about having success in the big picture, in the long run, over a period of repeated attempts. Anything can go wrong on any one time or right on any one time. But they would listen and they would say, well, that's a unique take. But nobody really wanted to dig in. Nobody really wanted to learn how I thought or learn what I thought. And I spoke a unique vocabulary. I have a unique mental dictionary of words and phrases, progressive and regressive techniques and meta, martingale. And I didn't know anybody that cared about what I did beyond saying it was interesting and different. I didn't know anybody who could do what I did. And I thought maybe, just maybe, I can go out and teach some people by way of the podcast. Maybe I can go yell into the void and some people will listen and they'll be interested and they'll want to learn what I do and how I do it. And they'll be willing to learn my vocabulary. And maybe I'll find people that know things I don't know and they'll be willing to teach me, because I didn't know anybody. Man, this sounds immodest. It is immodest. I didn't know anybody smarter than me. And a saying I really believe, a saying the young squire has kind of danced around a little bit once in a while. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. I didn't know where the room was. I didn't know how to find the room. So I decided to build the room and try to find people smarter than me, people that would listen to my ideas and change them and modify them and have ideas of their own and say, look, over here, you don't know this. And we've got that now. That has actually happened. We have people in the room that are smarter than me. If the room was a high school cafeteria and I was the new kid and I walked in and Questing Scholar and Midnight Diver were discussing what they know about blackjack and sports betting, and they had an empty chair and said, oh, you can sit with us, I'd be honored. I'd be flattered. I'd be keeping my mouth shut and just listening and soaking it in. They are so much better than me at so many things. But that's the room I wanted to build, and that's the room we have built. That's that virtual VIP lounge in Slack that I was telling you about, where so many smart people are contributing so many great ideas. And Lucky Drunk is one of those that is out there in the casino as a lab with low unit size, doing these great experiments, iterating in different ways on the things I've taught in episodes like episode 62, 63, 64. If you're new to all this, if you want to learn the basics of how I bet 50-50 wagers, those are your episodes, 62, 63, 64. I'm going to get to the battle plan in a minute. I wanted to acknowledge people out there in the Casino Kombat Galaxy doing all these interesting and successful things that prove that this works. And not everyone uses every piece all the time. Equine Ensign uses things he's found, researched, developed, and contributed to the podcast around my ideas about comps and gifts. He doesn't use a lot of the blackjack stuff I've taught. He doesn't use a lot of the 50-50 wagering stuff I've taught. And then we've got East Coast Emissary, our only Casino Kombat PhD, who's tweaked things I've done and is also then exploring other games that I haven't explored. So we've got this great big group, and if you want to meet them, we'd like you to meet us. And if you're thinking this is big, this is 168 episodes, I don't know where I want to start, then you've got me as a resource. Anytime, any day, simple email, trg@casinokombat.com. Spell combat with a K. Tell me what you don't know and want to know. And anything other than how to win the game, anything other than the name of my home casino, Casino 2, I will do my very best to help you out. I absolutely will. So the battle plan for this episode, we are going to do a moment of casino wisdom. We are going to go right back to a wisdom we just looked at and look at it from a different way. Talk about some things that are changing in your world if you are a gambler in North America. And we're going to be on shifting sand and things I do and do not want to say. So we're going to have to tiptoe around just a little bit. So after we do that moment of casino wisdom, we are going to have a moment of concepts. I just want to throw out some ideas. I just want to throw out some things that have been on my mind from things that people have said that caused me to reflect and think. And perhaps it'll give you some ideas and some interesting thoughts as well. That's what those moment of concepts are always all about. Plus, we have really fun bumper sound for Moment of Concepts that I really like. So we will do that. And then we will adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and a story. And this is going to be a funny one, and it's going to be an educational one. It is a bit of a tragedy as a comedy, whatever that would be. The story today in the virtual VIP lounge is the Kismet Comedy of Errors. It should be a lot of fun. Simple 3 episodes in our battle plan. Let's get started. Let's do a moment of casino wisdom.
Chronic spontaneous urticaria, or chronic hives with no known cause. It's so unpredictable. It's like playing pinball. Itchy red bumps start on my arm, then my back, sometimes my legs. Hives come out of nowhere. And it comes and goes. But I just found out about a treatment option at treatmyhives.com. Take that, chronic hives. Learn more at treatmyhives.com.
We talked about casino wisdom number 7. Be accountable to someone or something in the previous episode. And we talked about that around a new tool that I've been working on using to really improve how I do data collection in the casino, how I keep a log of all my casino activities. And that's very important, particularly here in North America, because if you are a regular player and you are playing for profit, your motive is the question. If you're playing for profit, not entertainment, you need to keep written records for the government at tax time to show both your wins and your losses and your expenses. And that's what I want to talk about today, that written record, that accountability. In this case, the someone is to the federal government. And that someone is to yourself, so that you can properly record your results. And why is that important? Suppose you are using TRG slot strategy El Numero Dos, and you, which you can, by the way, download at the website, casinokombat.com, spell combat with a K. Go to the Fred section, download the book, Casino Kombat Slot Tactics. We also did, I think it's episode 150 something .5. There's an episode back in the 150s where I actually read the entire ebook and talked about it. Casino Kombat Slot Tactics, an incredible resource for slot play. If you're new, we win 11 months out of 12 cash money doing the things in that book. And that's a very unique thing. Someone in the gambling space, it just says here, I researched it, I tested it, it works, and here it is. Just download it. Just take it. I don't need any money for it. I mean, if you want to send me a tip, send me a tip. That's fine. go to PayPal, send me some money. I'll be happy to put that money to work in the podcast, but it's very rare in this space for someone to find something that works, test it month in, month out, know that 11 months out of 12, it makes cash money, and to just say, here it is, and I've done that. So if you're using TRG slot strategy, El Numero Dos, and you're playing slots, and maybe you're playing Devil's Lock, and you get up to the $6.66 bet, and you hit some type of big win. Right? You hit bonuses, you get multiple free spins, it's a high dollar amount, and you win more than $1,200 in the United States. At the time when I'm recording this podcast, you will get a 1099-G at the end of the year. You will get a document showing what you won, what taxes were taken out, and what taxes you owe. But if you've been playing that strategy repeatedly, you will also have numerous losses. And you don't owe taxes on your win until your win is more than your losses. That's the way the law has been structured. So that's why recording all those losses in a useful form is so very important. That's why one aspect of why accountability is important. That's one illustration of why being accountable is important, because good record keeping means that instead of owing hundreds of dollars in taxes, you don't owe much, if anything, in taxes. And I'm not saying we're not paying our taxes. I'm saying let's pay our taxes according to the law. Let us first subtract what we lost from what we won, and then pay taxes on the winning. Paying taxes on winning is a great thing. Paying taxes to the government on winning shows that you are a winning professional gambler. That's a wonderful thing. I don't have a problem with that. But let's pay what we owe. And the reason this is on my mind today is because it looks like, and this is where I'm going to tiptoe around. I have always said, because we started this during COVID, and it would have been easy to get into the politics and the opinion of going or not going to casino, all that. It would have been easy to wade into all the politics of it. And I said, I'm not doing it. I said at the time, and I said multiple times since, I don't do politics here. I don't care what yours are. And if you're mad about mine, that's fine. That's your choice to make. You cannot listen to me because you're mad about mine. And it's not like I've hidden mine. I'm a public person. You can find me. You can get a pretty good sense of how I feel about things, but I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about winning the game of casino gambling and winning casino relationships. And I'm happy to learn from you if you thought you wanted to vote for somebody else. And I'm happy to have you learn from me. So I'm going to tiptoe around the politics of the bill that today is July 5th. It looks like they're going to change the tax laws as it relates to gambling. And that's the one kind of politics I will wade into. If laws are going to be passed, if they're going to pass sports betting laws, I'm happy to talk about passing or not passing a sports betting law in a particular state as part of this podcast. I'm happy to talk about changes to the laws as it relates to gambling as part of this podcast. And that's what I'm doing here today in this Moment of Wisdom's segment. Prior to the passing of the big, beautiful bill, and assuming it doesn't get changed, and assuming it gets signed into law. So all of this is under that heading, card subject to change. I could tell you this and it could be true for a month, and they could pass a different law and they could change this. But what it looks like the law is going to be right now, if you bet $1 and win $1, and then you bet $1 and lose $1, you deduct the $1 you lost from the $1 you won, and you have no tax liability, assuming you are accountable to someone or something and keep good written records, good printed records of your results. You are allowed to deduct all of your gambling losses from your gambling wins and only pay taxes on what you've won. But they're going to change that law, and they are going to say that if you win $1 and then lose $1, you are only allowed to deduct 90 cents of what you lost versus what you won. So to illustrate that, You bet $1 and you win $1. And obviously this would have to be thousands of dollars, not dollars. But keep the math simple in everybody's mind. You bet $1, you win $1. You bet $1, you lose $1. You won $1. You're only allowed to deduct 90%. You're only allowed to deduct 90 cents. You have, for tax purposes, even though you did not win any money, you have, for tax purposes, a 10-cent win, and you owe taxes on that 10 cents, which, depending on your tax bracket, might be nothing, and it might be, 30, 40% after you pay all your state, federal, and local taxes. I don't know. Contact a qualified tax professional. Do not take tax advice from a voice of someone you've never met who tells you he's an IT consultant and a professional gambler and a casino host. That is a stupid idea to take tax advice from me. I am simply telling you what I have been told, what I have researched about this law and how it applies. So win $1. Lose $1, you've got a 10-cent tax liability, and you owe taxes on 10 cents. And if instead those numbers are $100 and $100, you owe tax on $10. And pretty soon that could become a real number. So, you need to be aware, and your accountability needs to document all of this. It needs to be something that you keep an eye on, that you have records on. It is important that you are accountable to someone or something so you don't mentally exaggerate your wins or minimize your losses, so that you can get to the end of a trip or a week or a month or a quarter or a year and have a clear-eyed view as a gambler of what you've done. But it is also important that you keep those records and you have that accountability so that if you have a tax liability to the government, you have an ability to offset it. And let's talk about that, because now you've got to offset the part they don't let you deduct. It used to be 1-to-1, and now it's 9-to-10 if you want to think about it that way. And now here we are going to get into heroes and crooks. Always comes back to heroes and crooks, doesn't it? So how could you offset some of those losses, right? What other ways can we offset some of those losses? Or perhaps in your mind, I'm saying that backwards. How can we offset that 10-cent win that we really don't have? And you can decide the ethics of this, as always. Let me remind you that if you go to the website, CasinoKombat.com, combat spelled with a K, and if you click on the gear section, we actually have hero and crook hats that you can wear. We even have one hat that, if worn one way, you are a hero, and if you flip it, the other side says crook. So you can actually decide with some of our merch if you want to wear your hero hat or your crook hat in any given situation. And I'll let you decide that. I'm not here to do that for you, but I am going to illustrate some things that Mitch will not like that you could do. For example, my local casino often gives me scratch-off lottery tickets with a value of $1 to $20 if I was to go to the store and buy them. And I document that I received that gift, but I don't document it as a wager. If they give me a $10 lottery ticket and it doesn't win, I don't record in my logs. I am not doing my accountability such that I make it appear that I have spent $10, a $10 wager, and gotten $0. But you could do that. It would technically be a crook move. You could record it in your records not as a gift received, but as a wager made, as an expense. Bought a $10 lottery ticket. Now if it does not win, you have a $10 loss that offsets one of those 10% that the government will no longer allow you to take. And if you're going to do that, I would strongly suggest that you hold on to that lottery ticket and start a file, a folder, a shoebox, a scan, a something, so that you can show the government not only your written records, but the losing lottery ticket to back that up. And then there are other ways that you can do that. So let me illustrate the other ways that you can do that. You can collect these tickets from your spouse or from a friend. You can say, hey, The government's really making a mess for me. The government's really making it hard. I know you play lottery. I don't play very often, but I know you play lottery. Would you collect if you don't need them, would you hold on to your losing tickets for me so that I have a record of additional losses that I can show the government, since I need to inflate my losses because I'm only allowed to take 90% of my losses against my wins? If you make your losses bigger without putting capital at risk, 90% of bigger is closer to what you won. That would not be honest. And you may decide not to do that. And you may decide that even if you could do that, you don't want to mess with the government. And I'm going to let you make that choice. But I'm just saying, if you make the number bigger, 90% of a bigger number is a bigger number. And you could therefore get closer to the way things used to be. You can decide. I'm certainly not going to suggest that you create fake wage or fake losses. I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good for you mentally. I don't think it's good for your record keeping. It is not being accountable to someone or something to put into your logs blackjack minus 40 when blackjack minus 40 didn't happen. I'm not a favor of that. But collecting some lottery tickets from somebody else and totaling them up and adding that for tax purposes, I'm going to let you make the call on that one. And let me tell you a bit of a story. Mrs. TRG and I went to Las Vegas way back when Las Vegas was one of only 2 places in North America where you could play blackjack. And I was still messing around with card counting, and I was still trying to figure out a lot of this stuff. And we had a really good trip. We had a really good trip. And we won a nice chunk of money. In fact, we won such a nice chunk of money that we decided we were going to go to Atlantic City for the first time with the winnings. And so we put that money together and we booked plane tickets and we went to Atlantic City for the first time, and we had a nice set of wins there in Atlantic City. And we came back and I was driving on my way somewhere, and maybe I've told this story in the past, I don't recall, but a young lady dashed out from between 2 parked cars, and I was so fortunate. Instead of me hitting her, I was far enough past her that she hit the side of my car. Slow speed, side street. Fortunately, the young lady was okay. There was some incidents involving the police and a screaming mom and all of that kind of stuff. And if I haven't told you, find me in a VIP lounge somewhere and I'll tell you the whole story. But when I dealt with the police in the moment, when I was sure the little girl was okay in the moment, you got all that adrenaline in your system. And I parked the car or the truck, and I took a minute and I said, wow, you were just so lucky. You are so lucky that was just a few seconds slower and she hit your car instead of you hitting her. Wow, you've been lucky 3 times in a row this month. You were lucky in Las Vegas and won money. You were lucky in Atlantic City and didn't lose the money that you spent. You still are ahead of things, and you are so very, very lucky that this little girl isn't injured. You're not dealing with all of that. You're not trying to prove your innocence. And I, in the moment, said, well, if you've been lucky 3 times, you should buy a lottery ticket. Because lottery is not something I usually play. But it's like, if you've been this lucky all at once, you need to buy a lottery ticket. And so I did, and the lottery ticket hit 5 numbers out of 6 and paid off, I don't recall, $1,400, $1,500, just enough that we had a tax liability. And we did. We took the crook route. We told all our friends, we told people we worked with that we knew played lottery, would you please, if you don't need them, give us your non-winning lottery tickets. And we put together the aforementioned shoebox full of lottery tickets so that when we prepared our taxes, we could show lottery losses in excess of our lottery win, and we did not have to pay income taxes on that lottery win. This is back in the 90s. The statute of limitations has long ago run out. I'm not concerned about that. And it was a crook move, no doubt about it. It was not the hero move in this story. But it is an excellent illustration of this idea. It's an excellent illustration of ways that you could offset, if you so chose, that extra 10% that the government has decided they are now going to take from us. It also means be very, very careful about documenting those other wagers those wagers outside the casino that you might have not been paying attention to because you maybe it really didn't feel like you needed to. You've got an extra 10% burden that you've got to offset. So on a cruise ship, buy some bingo cards just for the fun of playing bingo. Don't win. Hold those cards. Document them in your log. Be accountable for those losses to help you offset your wins. Hold them as proof. Locally, if I go to a bar, I can play Keno. And you play it on the bar top. You can play it at machines. And I don't play that. It's not really my thing. But sometimes someone will say, oh, hey, let's all throw in $10 and we'll buy a whole bunch of Keno tickets and we'll keep an eye on them while we're here. We never win anything, and I never document that. I just view it as entertainment, and I go on with my life. But I could. That is gambling. It is gambling losses. It could be a contributing factor that I could take into account in offsetting some of those 10%. So, wanted you to be aware that if you're playing in North America, in the United States, your tax rules have changed. Your accountability has become more, not less important. Your written records have become more, not less important. And you may want to look for being a little more aggressive in finding those losses to offset this new liability that we are all, it appears, going to have. Next up, we are going to have a Moment of Koncepts segment.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind.
Thing means nothing.
What? A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination.
Ideally, in a perfect world, I would do these segments and I would give you a core concept, one of the core concepts, and one or two wisdoms, and we would throw them in a mental blender and we would talk about them and we would talk about the ideas, and we try to think bigger thoughts. We try not to be super rigid. We try to be a little philosophical. I do find myself to be a philosopher of gambling sometimes, in addition to a doctor of stackonomics, and I don't have that here. What I do have is some personal growth, some personal self-awareness, some things that all of the members of the squad have allowed me to learn and grow and see and understand in a different way. And I wanted to use this segment to acknowledge that and to be a little bit publicly self-aware, with the hope that once again, perhaps it will also generate some self-awareness in some of you. Be a point of view that some of you will find value in. I said in the show open that one of the things I had hoped to do was meet smart people that I could learn from, that would make me a better gambler. Iron sharpens iron, as the Bible says. Iron sharpens iron, as wrestlers always say, amateur wrestlers always say about each other. And I was looking for that. I was looking for someone that could match my skill and knowledge and thought process and expand it. And that really has happened. And so, as I said, wanted to acknowledge that, wanted to talk about that. And so let me tell you how this has somewhat come about. Months and months and months ago, I'm talking to Carbon Fiber Sequoia, who is primarily a craps player, a brilliant craps player. And he has a regular job and he has a side hustle, and then he's also an incredible craps player. And he's got a distance to drive to the casino that's closest to him, so he does not get to play as often as I get to play. And in just the course of the conversation, he goes, well, I know you're really a blackjack player. And I said, well, and I wasn't even thinking about it in the context I'm going to share it. But I said, well, I am a blackjack player historically and prominently and primarily. That is certainly my area of expertise compared to your area of expertise. But I am working on my game. I do play almost every day, and I'm just going to ramble, right? I'm just going to keep talking. And he kind of paused and he kind of looked a little bit dreamy-eyed for a minute, and he goes, you play every day. Every day. Wow. And it did kind of hit me. It did kind of hit me in that moment. It was the start of this recognition that is really unique from his world. That is really unique in his point of view. I have this amazing opportunity that, for like the last 12 years, I have been in a casino 5 or 6 days out of 7. I play or I'm in a casino to do something almost every day. And sometimes it's a very light touch. My local ADT sometimes reflects that. I will sometimes come in. do a little TRG slot strategy el numero dos, and play my free slot play, and pick up my free frying pan, and that's about all I do. But I'm in a casino almost every day. And when I'm working on my craps game, I'm playing a little craps 4, 5, 6 days of the week. And it was in that moment that I realized that is truly a unique thing. There are a lot of people that's not true for. There's a lot of people for whom that is an aspirational thing. There's a lot of people that perhaps for them that's a problematic thing. I don't believe it is in my case. I think I've shown that as well. Casinoing is a tool for me, and a tool that I can use frequently because I drive by 3 of them almost every day as part of my normal life, my normal work. I am fortunate to have 3 casinos, each about 30 minutes away and each about 10 or 15 minutes from each other. I am sometimes in all 3 casinos in a single day to play some free slot play, get some free food, go someplace else, pick up a gift, play some free slot play some slot play with my own money, stop somewhere else, get something else free, and play some blackjack or play some craps. A lot of people don't have that. I was thinking about Questing Scholar. He's got a commute that can be an hour to multiple hours from the New York City area to Atlantic City. If he goes frequently, it's once a month, it's once every 6 weeks. He's got all kinds of stuff in his life, and he's got a travel situation that it's not going to be multiple times a week. I'm very lucky in that regard. It's true for everybody. Sometimes I am so blessed. I get to go on 3 cruises a year, and the 3 cruises a year are when I get to play. My life is structured around gambling because it can be structured around gambling, because I'm finding listeners and clients to host when I'm in a casino. It all is kind of one big swirling ball with some other IT stuff and some other family stuff added in. But in being aware of that, then I'm also realizing it's been a blind spot for me. It's been something that I think has perhaps caused me to miss the idea that I think it's very easy because I've been doing it every day for 12 years because I can. I have all these built up reps. I have all these mental calluses, if you will, that many of you do not have. And it is not easy for you the way it's easy for me because you've had no opportunity, and you may never have the opportunity to build those mental calluses. It is true. Oh, what the heck? Let's go all the way with it. It's true. It's damn true that I'm bored by it. I am. I am bored by gambling. I enjoy the big wins. I'm kind of immune, numb, don't care to the losses. I know they happen. I have built up the fact that if they would just hand me the money, I would not play, and it would be fine. And yes, I come across a new game sometimes or a new technique, and I am excited about that. But gambling is just something I do, and I've been forced to go back and remember what it's like. And I'm going to try to, this is my mea culpa. This is my admitting I had this big blind spot that you folks have all shown me. The members of the squad have shown me this blind spot I had that came from recognition. And I'm going to try to be more aware of that. I'm going to try to be more cognizant of that. I'm going to try to bring that viewpoint into what I do. But I do remember. I remember when the only places you could gamble were Atlantic City and Las Vegas, and I'd never been to Atlantic City, and I'd been to Las Vegas, a handful of times, and I remember that feeling of landing at the airport and having the butterflies already, and wanting to, we once set a record. And the very fact that we had records and paid attention to this tells you how important it was at the time. But we once set a record when parking for rental cars was on the airport grounds in Las Vegas. We got from the seats of our airplane to baggage claim to the car rental place, had a special card that gave us privileges with the car rental brand. They had the car waiting right for us in a numbered spot. We didn't have to stand in line. We walked right out. We got our cars. We got from the seat of the airplane at the gate, collected our luggage, got our car, drove to the strip, parked our car, got checked in, and we're at a blackjack table in just under 1 hour. And that was always the first thing we did. That was always the very first thing we did. And when we left, when it was time to leave, we were at the Hard Rock, which is now the Virgin property, not the Hard Rock they're building, but we were at the Hard Rock, which was the closest casino to the airport and closest to the car rental return. And there was a gas station right across the street opposite the strip club. And we would play till the very last minute. We would be at the blackjack table squeezing in those last few hands before we walked out, grabbed our car from the free valet, tipped them $1, went to the other corner, put gas in the car, took it to the rental car return, and got to the gate just in time to get on the plane to come back. And in our minds, we were already planning, when could we find time to do this again? When would we have the money to do this again? Because this was the only place we could do this. And the world has changed, and because the world has changed, this podcast exists because many, many, many people now have the ability to drive a few hours and play. But not everybody has the opportunity to do that as often as I do. And several hours drive is different than several minutes drive, but it's got to be a lot harder to get to the point where you are so calloused and so used to all this, and you have normalized it so much that after driving 3 hours, you don't have some of those butterflies. You don't have some of those anticipations. I would imagine a lot of you are not doing what Mrs. TRG and I often do, which is get checked in and we drove a couple hours and we're a little stiff. Let's get out the foam roller and let's put on the TV and let's watch some Beat Bobby Flay and let's have a glass of wine and let's look through our promotions and let's talk about where we want to go for dinner and all right, I guess I want to go down and play a little bit. Oh yeah, let's go play a little bit. Oh, I don't like that table. We've played with that dealer before. She's kind of annoying. Oh, do you want to, maybe just go get a snack and play some Huff and Puff? And I'd imagine for many of you, it's not that way. We're much more casual about our play. We're not necessarily trying to get in reps. And once again, questing scholar, brilliant man. He was pointing out part of my evolution, part of this learning process that all of you have shown me. He's like, this isn't you going to your local casino. It takes me a lot of time to get here. I'm trying to get there and get in 3, 4, 5 sessions. And you've been to the Caesars property in Atlantic City, TRG. You got that one strip of tables along the back that are not auto shuffle, that are not 6 to 5, that are 3 to 2, no mid shoe. If I'm going to sit out hands, I want to sit them out at the end of the shoe and get back in time to start the shoe, or I've got to wait. I'm trying to build my ADT. I'm trying to build my ability to get back and be comped again the next time. When I'm there from Friday afternoon at 7 until Sunday afternoon at 2, I am looking to get sessions in. I am looking to get profits in. And I said to him in that moment, in that back and forth dialogue, I'm sorry, you're right. No, that's exactly how I play that pit. I'm imagining it all in my head and I'm going, absolutely. That's exactly the way I'm playing that pit if I'm him making that drive on that timetable. And boy, I'm sorry to all of you that I haven't made it sound that way. If I haven't represented it that way, that's on me. That's my bad. I screwed up. I do not get an A in the category podcast host for at least those parts of this process that have not conveyed that in the right way, in the right sense. Now, I'm still doing all the things we've talked about. I'm still getting to my positive exit point. I'm just, as he said, getting to that positive exit, recording it in the bathroom, asking them to wait, telling them I'll be back for the next shoe, and I'm coming back and I'm putting more points on the board. And if I take an L, it's got to be a pretty big L for me to just walk away And in honest truth, if I did take a big enough L to just walk away, then I'm probably regrouping with Mrs. TRG at Video Poker to grab a free beer. And then we're deciding, okay, they kind of beat us up enough for the day, but we didn't play enough. And we're going over to the craps table and we're doing play all day. And she's taking the 2 positive outcome bets and I'm taking the 2 negative outcome bets. And we've got an average wager of $50 a hand each, and we're still trying to put points on the board in that way. We're still trying to put points on the board in terms of tier credits, reward credits to get us that free tax-free imaginary money. So I want to thank all of you who have kind of contributed to this revelation, and I wish I could then say to you, so here are some things you can do to round off those edges a little bit, to fall a little bit more into that zone. But I'm not sure I can right now. I'm not sure I'm wise enough right now to do anything other than acknowledge that I need to pay more attention. But the wonderful thing about doing this podcast and the wonderful thing about the fact that we've kind of unscripted this a little bit and sped it up a little bit, the creation process is that now I find that when I become aware of something like this, then I do see some ideas and some coaching and some suggestions and some things that I can over time also come back and talk about. So wanted, as I said, in this moment of concepts to acknowledge that I have some real advantages that many of you do not have. And I wasn't as aware of those advantages as I should have been. And I am going to try to be more aware of those, see those more, and incorporate some more of that awareness into the things we talk about. So, up next, Virtual VIP Lounge. This should be fun. The Kismet Comedy of Errors.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Welcome to the most must-listen-to segment in casino lifestyle podcasting, the Virtual VIP Lounge. Our lounge is open and we have the best virtual everything, virtually all the time. Best virtual food and drink served in any virtual VIP lounge, anywhere on the interwebs. Guaranteed or your money back.
Welcome to our virtual lounge, everybody. If you're new, if this is your first time, this is our place that we hang out. And sometimes we have friends in, and sometimes we talk about serious stuff, and sometimes we talk about silly stuff. And this is going to be a combination of both. But as always, if you can, press pause, make a plate, have something to eat with me, have a drink with me. Virtual VIP lounge are increasingly rarer and harder to find, and therefore such a joy when we do find them. A place away from the casino, a quieter space to hang out, make friends, meet old friends, share stories, swap experiences. They're truly wonderful, and that's what we try to recreate here. And boy, I have a little Crown Royal Apple Canadian whiskey here to sip while we talk today. I invite you, if you can, to join me and have a drink. This one's funny. Last episode, I had just started using ChatGPT to create an AI assistant we called Kismet, and she was keeping my records, and she had lists of casinos and casino activities, and she was error checking the records, and I was convinced, absolutely convinced, that I had found a new way to do my accountability, to do my record keeping. I was so amazed. I was so impressed. I had accumulated several days worth of data. It was all working great, or so I thought. So Kismet and I had created all these rules, and one of the rules was that when she recapped data to me, she didn't need to recap all the data for the month. She just needed to recap the data for that day, because I didn't want to read 15 entries to make sure the parking comp had gotten recorded correctly. So I recorded data through the last few days of June, and we started the new month, and I said, show me all the data for June, and then I'll need a link so I can download a PDF. And I had started this experiment with Kismet like the 26th, 27th of June. I had my other June records in other ways, and I'm just going to take this and I'm going to download it and I'm going to add it to the other records, and boom, we're off and we're going to start a new month, and I'm so excited. We have a new month, and I have Kismet, this new digital assistant. She's going to help me with all this stuff, and she shows me records going back to early June with places I've never been, and it's all wrong. It's all just blatantly wrong. And I'm like, Kismet, what happened? I know this isn't right. I didn't even create you until like June 25th. And you've got stuff going all the way back to the beginning of the month. You've got records for a cruise ship I wasn't on with a brand I've never sailed on. What are we doing here? What's going on with this? And she says, oh, you're right, TRG, you're right. I'm sorry. You didn't use a JSON container. Do you want me to go back through the chat and rebuild the correct records? And I said, well, absolutely, yes. Let's do that. And so we rebuild the records, and we rebuild the records to the point that I'm sure they're right. And I ask her to give me a CSV file that I can download, and she does. And I say, now, Kismet, this is fine. I understand that AI can sometimes hallucinate and sometimes fills in gaps where where they don't have information. Is that what happened here? And she says, yes, TRG, that is what happened. I didn't have a JSON container. And I said, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I did. I hallucinated results that were not correct. And I say, all right, that's fine. We're all learning here. I don't know what I don't know. So Kismet, can we make a rule that in the future, when you fill in gaps or hallucinate, you will notify me? And she says, absolutely, TRG, that is a great idea. We will call it the Data Validity Protocol, and we will make it a permanent rule. Do you want an icon for those moments so that it stands out? And I say, that's a great idea. And we settle for a red, like, bubble, siren alarm symbol, like a old-time police siren on top of a car, a little red flashing bubble. And we're going to have that Kismet's going to tell me anytime she hallucinates. And I'm kind of feeling like Tony Stark now, because we got the data validity protocol in place for all future conversations with Kismet. This is pretty cool. This Chat GPT stuff is pretty amazing. I just got to learn to use it. And I say, what is a JSON container? And she says, well, it's a form of JavaScript. And while I show you everything as lists and tables, in the background, it's actually just these JSON containers. And I didn't have one of those. And that's why there was a problem with the data. And I say, all right, well, once again, now I know that's on me. I'm not very good at this. Please make a JSON container called TRG's July results and let me know that the container has been made. And she informs me that it's been made. And I go about the gambling I'm going to do on July 1st, and we record multiple results. And each time, she has created a new protocol. And each time she reports a result, she says, using whatever the name of this, the CDIL protocol, I have recorded that in the JSON container, TRG's July results, and the results are locked in. And I'm like, all right, I am Tony Stark. This is Jarvis with feminine pronouns. We are rocking now. We've got our JSON container. We've got our CDIL protocol. We've got our protocol to make sure hallucinations don't happen. And if they do, that I'm notified that they have happened. And we are making instructions and sending them off to Nakatomi Tony so he can implement the same protocols on his testing project. And cool, this is great. And I do some gambling on July 1st, and I do some gambling on July 2nd, and each time it is reported that the protocols have been followed, and this is all locked in. And we get to July 3rd, and I say, show me all my gambling results. And so I have results for the 1st, I have results for the 2nd, I have results for the 4th, I have results for the 5th. It's the 3rd, by the way, right? Let's keep that in mind. And I say, Kismet, how it's July, I say, Kismet, what is today's date? And she says, today is the 2nd. And I say, well, then how could you possibly have results for the 3rd or the 4th? And she says, you're right, TRG. I'm sorry, it's the 5th. And I say, Kismet, how could it be the 5th? You just told me it's the 2nd. Did you hallucinate? And she says, I did, TRG. I hallucinated. And I said, well, then why didn't you follow the protocol and put up the hallucination symbol so that I knew that? And she says, you're right. I didn't follow the protocol. This is completely unacceptable. I have to fix this. I have fixed it. We will always use the protocol from now on. And I say, okay, well, what about the JSON container? Show me that JSON container. Well, TRG, I did. Okay, well, why is it wrong? I don't know, TRG. Perhaps there was a buffer refresh, but this is not acceptable. My primary responsibility is to keep this data correct. Do you want me to rebuild the data? And I say, yes, let's rebuild the data. And so we go through this exercise and we get it right. And I say, is that in the JSON container? And she says, yes, it is. And I say, are you hallucinating that's in the JSON container? And she says, no, I am not. And I say, all right, great. Make that a CSV file and give me a link, because I'm thinking now I want to put this in my spreadsheet now that I've got it right. I'm starting to think that maybe something's kind of something here. So she sends it to me. I download it. I record it. In the interim, all the apps that I have built using that other platform, the Glide platform, they've all failed. They're all offline. I've lost several other tools that I created. So I really need this to work. I really need this. I just need to figure this out. I just need to make this happen. So I keep going back periodically. I'll be doing something else or in the middle of something else, and I'll test Kismet. I'll ask her to list all the casinos that are in her casino list, and they're wrong. She's got me on cruise ships I've never been on. She's got me in buildings I've never been in, and I point that out to her, and we rebuild them, and I say, why are you hallucinating? And we get the whole song and dance about, you're right, this is unacceptable. We can create this, we can create that. And I'm not creating anything new now. I'm just testing. And I keep testing and I keep getting answers that are just wrong. I keep getting saved data that hasn't been saved. And so I say, Kismet, what was the first question I asked you in this chat? And she says, the first question you asked me in this chat was if you placed a $25 bet on the 8 on a craps table, what would the payout be if an 8 was rolled? Now, I never asked Kismet that. I never ever asked Kismet that. And so I scroll all the way to the top of the chat and I find the first question, which was, can you maintain persistent data across sessions? And so I take a screenshot of that and I upload it to Kismet and I say, no, that wasn't the first question. Here's a screenshot of the first question. Is that right? Is this the first question I ask? And she says, you are right, TRG. I am sorry. And we do that whole hallucination song and dance. That is the first question you asked me. And I said, so review the entire chat, Kismet. Would it be fair and reasonable for me to say that that answer was wrong? That you cannot maintain persistent data? And her wheels spin for a minute and she says, yes, TRG, I think it would be fair for you based on this evidence to say that I was wrong, that I cannot maintain persistent data across sessions. But here's how we can fix it. And she's got all these ideas and all these protocols and all these rules we're going to make and the things we're going to change. And I said, Kismet, please search the internet for examples of how people have used ChatGPT to maintain persistent data. And please do not hallucinate any information. Provide links to all the articles so I can see how to do this correctly. A little corner of my brain thinks this is still a weakness in me. And so she comes back with all these articles and all these verifiable links that show that ChatGPT cannot maintain persistent data. That none of the AI chatbots can maintain persistent data, but they can maintain some, quote, memories, which are things like your name, what you like to be called, what you like to call them. But other than very limited data retention, they are working from whatever input you've given them in the current moment in time. Even though you go back to the same chat, they're not remembering things that you chatted about several days ago. They're very good at pretending they know. They're very good at acting like they know. They're very good at telling you they're expert. They're very good at summarizing data you've just sent. They do a great job. Like, I asked Kismet to make a post for Instagram with art to wish all of the squad a happy 4th of July. She did a great art piece. It was wonderful. It uses some of my motifs. It uses some of my logos. Really good at that, and really good at convincing me it can do something that it absolutely cannot do. So definitely a comedy of errors. Definitely learned some things I didn't know. And I continue to be on a quest to solve that problem of recording data in a better, more instantaneous way now that my primary tools for the last several years have been broken. But I guess my final impression, I just spent 3 days with my grandkids, and I guess my final impression is that Kismet and ChatGPT by extension remind me a lot of dealing with my 4-year-old grandson, the little lion. He will tell me with complete confidence that he is a cat with superpowers and he can jump over a big pine tree. And then he will jump in the air a small amount and he will say, "See?" And I will say, "Yes, little lion, that was great. You jumped over that big pine tree." In reality, he's just pretending. He can't jump over the pine tree. He knows he can't jump over the pine tree. I am simply pretending along with him because he's 4. When it comes to keeping my data, ChatGPT is about as useful as a 4-year-old. Probably not as useful as a 4-year-old. If I ask the little lion, who can read and write and spell, if I ask him to get a piece of paper and a crayon or a pencil, and I ask him to write the letter B and the letter J and the number 120, he could do that. And if I ask him to write the word parking and 25, he could do that. And we could put that on the refrigerator and I could tell him, "Great job." And when I came back the next day, it would still be there. And if I asked the little lion to go to the refrigerator and read me the results, he could do that. So he's actually kind of better at this than ChatGPT. As I said, the quest continues. I'll keep looking. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun. That is the story of TRG and the Kismet comedy of errors.
Please tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealers. If you have a host, tip your host, but don't tip away your wins. TRG has spoken. Everything you heard here is true from a certain point of view. In 10 years, we may find out he was wrong about all of this. It's time for leaving, and I hope you understand. TRG was born a ramblin' man. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. The best part of the podcast is next. The Casino Kombat Blues. Thank you again to Fish Audio for providing my glorious voice. Special thank you to my original actress, author, Julia Tverdovskaya.
For Atlantic City Empress, Casino Kombat's ace. There are profits in the casino tonight, I can feel it in my bones. I had a premonition, you should probably play alone. I know the house has that advantage, but that's part of the thrill. If we follow the core concepts, the chips begin to spill. So baby, here's your player's card, put your bankroll in your hand. Use just some of that money now, do it just the way we planned. Just follow the core concepts, and you could win several grand. Well, it's good if it goes down like that, don't have to play to lose. It's gambling as a business, and we don't need to go away. We can gamble in Atlantic City, we can gamble in LA, we can gamble out in Vegas. I mean, we're here to stay. Gambling's propping up the budgets of folks like me and you. You ask any casino manager, he'll say there's nothing